Coming up, the Sky News Daily. All you need to know about one story in the news in 20 minutes. Today, with thousands dead and 1 million displaced, a ceasefire is now in effect in Lebanon. But is it working? And what does Lebanon look like after such a prolonged Israeli aerial and ground attack? Remember, if you enjoy what you hear and you don't want to miss out, do us a favour and follow us on your podcast app. Stay where you are. I'm Niall Paterson. Welcome to the Daily. In the early hours of Wednesday morning, the rockets stopped.
Under the deal reached today, effective at 4 a.m. tomorrow local time, the fighting across the Lebanese-Israeli border will end. Will end. This is designed to be a permanent cessation of hostilities.
Hezbollah, the Lebanese paramilitary group backed by Iran, has been targeting Israel since it was attacked by Hamas on October the 7th, 2023. Israel's response, thousands killed, and much of the south of Lebanon simply unrecognisable after a pretty brutal air and ground assault. But now, a ceasefire is in place. People are returning home. Today we're going to give a snapshot of life inside Lebanon. Now the violence has stopped, for now at least. Jeehad Jneid is Sky's producer in Lebanon. He's been in Beirut for about 10 years himself and has recently returned there from the south. Jeehad, great to see you. I mean, first and foremost, in terms of the ceasefire, how are things in the south of Lebanon?
People are going back to their houses. They're trying to check on their neighborhoods, check on their families, their neighbors. You can feel like there's a positive energy all over the place. But again, there's still this kind of anxiety and tension. What's the next step? Is this ceasefire gonna carry on? Is it gonna be broken at any moment? It's a combination of different feelings at the meantime.
So with all this destruction, those tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who are heading back, are heading back into what exactly? I mean, are there facilities that will be there to keep them warm, to keep them fed, to keep them free from thirst?
From what I witnessed, it's not livable at the meantime. People are arriving to almost completely destroyed and bombarded neighborhoods. There is lack of kind of everything. No water, no electricity, no fuel. Gas stations are closed. Shops are down.
It sounds like it is going to be a huge reconstruction project for the Lebanese people, for the Lebanese government. But even before the conflict with Israel began, even before the Hamas attacks of October the 7th, Lebanon was a pretty poor country, wasn't it? The World Bank saying 44% of the population living on or below the poverty line. Does it have the capacity to rebuild?
The problem in Lebanon did not start on the 8th of October when the clashes on the Lebanese borders started. We are passing through massive inflation since 2019. After that, we had the port explosion that destroyed the capital.
Extraordinary images tonight of deadly explosions felt by millions in Lebanon. Blasts that shook a city and injured thousands.
And the economic situation is very bad. The government is not capable of doing anything close to this. How is this process going to be happening?
Welcome back. And there's breaking news from Israel this morning to bring you now, where rockets have been fired from Gaza into southern Israel, and Hamas has announced what it's calling a new military operation.
Let's rewind just a little and try and examine how we got to this point, to the ceasefire itself. I mean, Hamas attacked Israel on October the 7th, 2023. And from that point onwards, there were clashes between Hezbollah, the Iran-backed Lebanon-based militia group, and Israel itself. But they were largely confined to kind of cross-border incursions to start with, weren't they?
I mean, on the 8th of October, Hezbollah launched an attack on Israeli positions in Shib'a hills. It was very limited to the borders villages. One step at a time, it started escalating.
Thousands of people have been injured when pagers belonging to Hezbollah members exploded in a southern Beirut suburb. Israel is being blamed for the attack.
Obviously, one of the most significant events to have taken place this year were those walkie-talkie and pager explosions. What do you remember of those 2 days?
I was filming in the street, and the pagers attack started. There was chaos all over Beirut. People exploding in the middle of the street. I went to the closest hospital in Beirut to document and to see and to be able to report what's happening. And most of the injuries were like people who lost their eyes or people who lost parts of their hands, their fingers. It was like what a day, you know. We went to a funeral of a leader of Hezbollah 2 days after the pagers attack. The walkie-talkie thing happened during the funeral that we were in, and everything happened in front of us. Like you see, like the walkie-talkie is exploding in front of your eyes, you know. We saw one of the people in the funeral who literally exploded like 3 or 4 meters away from us, full of blood, immediately fell on the floor. Right away, we started hearing people shouting about like, quickly, everyone remove the batteries of your talkie-walkies, they are exploding. And we start hearing the sounds exploding one after the other, like few seconds. And injuries were falling right in front of us.
Well, it was a very rocky night for everyone in Beirut, but not just Beirut, not just the capital. Huge strikes, massive strikes down in Tyre, where we've just come from.
It was pretty soon after that Israel began the air assault and the ground assault. What were those first few days like?
At night, 8, 9, 10, the Israeli army will start issuing what they call evacuation orders. And they start sending maps pointing on the map which building they're gonna strike or target. A few minutes after this, you will see people rushing out from their buildings with their luggage, whatever they were able to carry with them. Usually the Israeli army will carry their attack after 15 minutes. People will really don't have time. You start hearing massive explosions. People gathering together and watching their neighborhoods or their houses or their buildings, waiting for them to see if they're going to be destroyed in front of their eyes or they will make it. People were kind of expecting that this is going to happen. What no one was expecting was the assassination of Nasrallah, which came right after.
Well, the Israel Defense Forces, the Israeli military, on their official Twitter account, have just released a tweet saying that Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, will no longer be able to terrorize the world.
Tell our listeners who Hassan Nasrallah was and why his killing was quite so significant.
Hassan Nasrallah is he's the big father figure to all Hezbollah's community, to an extent that people can believe that Nasrallah would not exist anymore. It's something that would not even cross their minds. And I remember very well that after almost 2 minutes of the statement being out, you can clearly hear shoutings all over the place, women crying, like you see people going out to the streets, falling, people sitting just on the sidewalk. It was a huge shock, and it took some time for people to understand that, yes, Nasrallah is dead now.
How has the announcement of a ceasefire, how has that been perceived in Lebanon, particularly given the fact that Hezbollah said there would be no ceasefire with Israel until there was a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, and that clearly hasn't happened.
Yes. People feel over here that this ceasefire, to them, they see it as a victory. They see it that Israel was not able to achieve what they wanted to achieve in Lebanon. Israel said that they want to defeat Hezbollah completely and remove erase their presence. This is something that they weren't able to achieve. Again, I'm talking about Hezbollah community. They believe that it's a victory.
Sorry to put you on the spot, but from where you're sitting right now, do you think this ceasefire will hold?
Will the war end? There's a long history between Lebanon and Israel, and every few years there's something new happening. People are definitely very nervous about this. In the past 2 days, like in the first and second day of the ceasefire, we've seen several incidents on the borders, and these are kind of pillars or symptoms to what might be happening, the amount of tension that's still there. Yesterday, the Israeli army shot 3 colleagues, journalists. They were filming in South. So we have 3 fellow journalists who got shot yesterday by the Israeli army. Today, there was also shooting and tension on the borders. The Israeli army shot on people whom they claimed that were suspicious to them. So there is still tension on the borders, and how this tension will be going, no one can know. But it gives you kind of this feeling, the directions that we might be going through.
I mean, Jeehad, do you personally have any hope that any time soon Lebanon will return to something approaching normality? I mean, it wasn't that long ago that young Europeans were flying to Beirut, partying away in a town that, to all intents and purposes, to them felt, pretty westernized at the time. I'm not sure that they'll be doing that in any numbers for a long time.
I mean, I personally hope we will have a peaceful and safe country and safe borders. But in terms of reality, I would tell you that I can't see this happening. Just by looking on this history, I can't see it coming, especially that the solutions that are being done on every round are very similar. So what make it different this time? What are the guarantees that very soon in the coming few days, or even in the coming few years, another round is going to happen, another destruction, another rebuilding, another displacement? I hope we live in peace, but is it going to happen? I don't really feel.
Jeehad Jneid, Sky's producer out in Lebanon. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And that is your lot for this edition of The Daily. To find out the very latest on what's happening inside Lebanon, simply head to skynews.com. And do give the podcast a follow if you've enjoyed what you've heard. We'll see you tomorrow.